आपका जो इसहाक डार के साथ इंटरव्यू आपने हाल ही में हार्ट टॉक पे किया, पाकिस्तान में बहुत मकबूल हुआ, बहुत देखा गया, आपके लिए वो तजुर्बा कैसा रहा? आपको मज़ा आया वो इंटरव्यू करने में?
Well, I was delighted that Ishaq Dar wanted to be on the show. We want to, and we're making a very conscious effort to cover Pakistan more thoroughly on Hard Talk. So when he said he was happy to come in and give us the interview, we were very delighted about that. And also he's a very direct speaker, and Hard Talk is supposed to be quite an intense conversation, and it was a pretty intense conversation. And I enjoyed the experience, and I think, at the time, Mr. Dar also seemed to enjoy it and think it was worthwhile.
आप जिस तरह के लोगों के इंटरव्यूज़ करते हैं, ज़्यादातर उनमें से बहुत ही जानी मानी शख्सियात होती हैं, सियासतदान होते हैं, उन्हें इस बात की आदत होती है कि उनसे सख्त सवाल पूछे जाएं और वो उन सवालों के जवाब ना दें। ऐसे में वो जवाब जो आप चाहते हैं, उस सवाल का जवाब वो हासिल करना कितना आसान या मुश्किल होता है?
Well, I've been presenting Hard Talk for the best part of 15 years, so I've become quite used to the methods that politicians and public figures use to try to get their message across and not necessarily always answer the direct question that I've asked. There are various ways to try to bring them back to the straightforward question. Sometimes the question needs to be repeated several times. Perhaps it can be reframed, rephrased, but essentially I'm trying to bring them back to the question that I want them to address. Also, an interview on Hard Talk, it lasts for 25 minutes, so there is a rhythm to the interview, and one can explore an area. If the politician or the public figure isn't giving too much away, one can perhaps move away for a while, then come back. There are different techniques. Some interviewees embrace the challenge and are very frank and direct from the beginning. Others perhaps take a little more time to warm up, and interviewers also have to ensure that they maintain respect and courtesy. I'm always keen to do that. I don't regard an interview as a boxing match where I have to land some sort of knockout blow on the opponent. It's not like that at all. I want to elicit information. I want to enlighten our viewers, and that's the spirit in which I do the show.
जब आप इस तरह के सवाल, इस तरह के सख्त सवाल कर रहे होते हैं एक इंटरव्यू में, जो कि आपका काम है, उस वक्त वो सख्त सवाल जारहाना अंदाज में करते हुए भी बदतमीजी तक बात ना पहुंच जाए, इस बात को आप किस तरह से इंश्योर करते हैं?
I think it's an important question, and to me it's about respect as much as anything. I respect the guests we have on the show. By and large, they're public figures who are important in the societies in which they live and work. I show them the respect of doing decent research, real preparation, to make sure that I'm as well informed as I can be before the interview begins. And I also respect our audience, and I think our audience wants an intelligent conversation. They don't want the interview to be, as I just put it earlier, some sort of boxing match where aggression and rudeness are used as devices. That's absolutely not what I'm about. And I think, there are certain formats for interviews which are absolutely about this idea that it's a out-and-out confrontation. I know our show's called Hard Talk, but really the point of it is ultimately to try and elicit information and enlighten our audience, and that's really what it's about. It's certainly not about me and me trying to make any sort of personal points or invest myself personally in any sort of combat with the guest.
आपको इतना अरसा हो गया अब ये इंटरव्यूज़ करते हुए, जैसा कि आपने खुद कहा, इतने सारे लोगों के आपने इंटरव्यूज़ किए हैं, अगर आपको एक या दो इस तरह के इंटरव्यूज़ चुनने हों जिनमें आपको सबसे ज़्यादा मज़ा आया रिसर्च में, तैयारी में, मगर उस इंटरव्यू में भी, तो वो कौन से होंगे?
Actually, I think it's quite easy for me to tell you over this 15 years of interviews which one sticks in my memory the most, was the most exciting, most memorable, and that was the opportunity I had to go to Caracas and interview President Hugo Chavez of Venezuela when he was, along with Fidel Castro, the absolute iconic leader of sort of socialist revolutionary Latin America. And he really didn't like the Western media. He regarded the BBC as a sort of tool of imperialism alongside the US media. But after a lot of contacts and networking and persuasion, we did persuade him to come on Hard Talk. And he invited me to the presidential palace, which was fascinating. He's an incredibly sort of assertive, expansive character, and he sat in the chair like you're sitting with me, and he's this bull-chested guy, very charismatic, and he talked. We have a 25-minute interview slot, but he would not stop talking. We talked for about an hour, and he lectured me, and he wagged his finger in my face, and he said, "Stephen, I can't believe the BBC has sent such an idiot to interview me."
Nice.
Because I was, again, the prep had been done. I was challenging him on some very specific human rights cases, freedom of speech issues. I had, the evidence from the different dissident groups that we'd spoken to, and it turned into an extraordinarily compelling piece of television. And interestingly, at the end of it, he clearly had enjoyed it. This is a man who, in his own country, would not have countenanced a similar form of interview. But he actually went on Venezuelan television afterwards, and in Spanish he said, "I've just had this guy from Diálogo Duro, Hard Talk, in my office." He said, "He was muy fuerte, very strong," he said, "but," he said, he threw me his fastballs, like in baseball. He said, "but I hit him out of the park." So,
So he'd had fun, clearly.
Yeah, and the point of that story is that politicians know they're going to get tested and challenged on Hard Talk. But those who have confidence in their case, who really believe in the message that they are trying to sell to their own people and to the world, they appear to enjoy it. And yes, Hard Talk is tough, but Hard Talk also represents a fantastic platform. Any public figure who goes on the show is speaking, we think, roughly to about 70 million viewers and listeners to the show every day. So that's quite a platform and quite an